Okay, thank you, everybody. We are back in Hubcast Studios in Peace Week and this global broadcast. And we're straight into this next great program, the first great program for today following the launch. And this is a beautiful presentation from the Peace.Academy. It's called The Path to World Peace Starts With You. And the Peace.Academy was established by Don Pett, who used to be a regular on the Unity Earth weekly calls. And we all remember Don very fondly, his dedication, his devotion, his commitment, and his brilliant ideas of really utilizing the inspiration of people like Einstein and others to really open up more pathways to peace. And we're honored to be here with the executive director who's carrying the torch forward, which is Josephine S. Guevara. And Josephine's an extraordinary woman, worked at IBM for over 22 years as a marketing lead, dedicated to transforming and improving employee engagement around the world. Prior to accepting her position at IBM, she received a PhD in psychology, concentrating on health psychology. For her dissertation, Josephine conducted research at Mount Sinai School of Medicine and Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, both in New York City. Now happily retired, Josephine spends her time focused on healing, health, happiness, and hope. So, Executive Director of the Peace.Academy, Josephine, it's really wonderful to have you in Peace Week.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure for me to be here. What an absolute warm welcome. I'd like to jump right in to the presentation. Let me share my slides with you right now. And love to see all the happy faces on the call. This has been such an honor. I have so many people on with me today sharing this wonderful work who've spent a lot of time with Don. Now, like Ben said as we were starting off, let me look. No matter who you are, where you live, your religious beliefs, your political affiliation, or whether your skin color is Black, white, red, yellow, or technicolor. At Peace.Academy, we can show you how to make our world a safer place for you and your loved ones. And we do this by teaching you what we call a newer way of thinking about the role you play in making this planet a better and more peaceful place. Now, as you can see there, that is not my picture, right? That's Donald Pett, and he is actually my co-presenter today. He passed on in December of last year after many years of being dedicated to bringing the word of peace and how to do that through the newer way of thinking. And what you see there is our mission. And I'd like to give a welcome to the Pett family who might be on the call today. My daughter is actually on the call. We have peace ambassadors on the call from around the world, and all of you who might be listening now or are on the video, thank you for being here. This is how we spread our word of message of peace and hope, partnering with you. So today's discussion, right? Today's discussion is going to be all about learning to love yourself with the abundance that overflows to enrich our loved ones and humanity. Now, we have a video, and I'm going to probably show the video at some point throughout this call, but it's the power that the individual holds to bring about world peace in our lifetime. And it starts with this notion of loving yourself, as I mentioned. And I pose this as a challenge to you. Not as a question, but as a challenge. How can you love yourself that way? How can you love yourself with enough to enrich and overflow to humanity? Look, tribalism has failed. What I'm asking you to do is evolve with us together. By the time I get to the end of this presentation, right, I want you to take these as the key takeaways in case you have to drop early. In case you said I won't be able to spend the 45 minutes or so on this, on this call going through, all of the presentation that Josephine might be talking about, or when we get to the part where we're sharing out. This is what I want you to take away. right? I think we'd be naive if we didn't realize that war works, but it only works for some. And many times it's working for the wrong reasons. You see, did you know that the United States alone spends about $800 billion each year on national defense? That accounts for about 12 to 15% of our federal spending. As peace advocates, many of you probably know this already. War has always been profitable for the greedy. That's not anything new. What I need you to do is to resist. Start by rebelling against this divisiveness of your tribal biology, right? You know, too, that we are biologically predisposed to protecting ourselves, our families, and our tribes, believing that it's necessary for our survival. Look, we see this today in our divided ideologies and our anger that's fueled by platforms that support rage. I'd love for you to evolve with us. As peace leaders, too, many of you may speak with those or who don't see a path to peace or believe, you're banging your head against the wall when you talk about world peace or sometimes feel like you can't make a difference. I know that feeling. Look, here at Peace Academy, we believe that through our 7+2 formula and our community building Genie seminars, you begin to know that you can make a difference. And what we do here is we do this by teaching you how to love yourself with the abundance to love others. And that's what we call our newer way of thinking. Look, I've said this. We were taught that war is the way to security. And this newer way of thinking that I've talked about, it's this way that our popular technology and our platforms are used to glorify the winners, to the point of even ignoring the science that challenges that thinking. It's almost enough to make us feel like we're swimming uphill, And wanting to do something about it is feeling that we can't. We want to know that you can, right? So here we've talked about the dangers, right, that we think are the big three to this notion of world peace: global warming, pollution, and war. Now, related dangers might include things like prejudice, greed, poverty, starvation, suicide, addictions, loneliness, male shooters coming out of the woodwork, depression, suicide. And this is by no means, a complete list. But also think that we can fix our problems. Now, the root cause of these dangers, we believe, is this notion of an either or way of thinking. Don used to call it an either or thought addiction. It's either you or me, not both and. And the both and is the approach we need. But this either or is how we think, right? Einstein's solution is that we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking that we use to create them. Therefore, we require this new way of thinking, and that's what we practice here. It's Einstein's simple yet radical notion to world peace. So what is this new way of thinking, right? Now that my tribe is not only right, but it's how we thrive, right? That's a lie. And I'm here to tell you that that's a lie. The newer common sense way of thinking, this newer way of thinking, allows us to evaluate our base instinct and to resist this notion of lashing out. Reject that learned tradition to hate those who are different than us. And most importantly, rebel against the ideas that keep you bound to that either or way of thinking. Consider your power, your free will to become your own person, and your power to embrace peace. Now, what is this a newer way of thinking, or ANWA, as we call it, right? It starts with these 7 easy to learn word switches that starts this in motion. Now, the 2 part of the formula teaches the modern version of the golden rule, the one that I've talked about: loving yourself with the abundance, to enrich our loved ones and humanity. And most individuals, we found, can learn these essential skills with a few minutes of practice each day, whereby the newer way of thinking becomes automatic and effortless as we continue to use this. And we found that practicing this formula reduces this predetermined problem-causing instinct and our traditional way in which we react. People who apply the formula, they learn to self-endorse and love themselves more and respect one another instead of continuing to tear others down. Let me go through the +2 formula with you. It's this notion of emotional self-endorsement, okay? It is the responsible action to love yourself with this abundance. It is the most powerful means to create this modern version of the golden rule. Secondary endorsement is endorsing yourself for the very worthy act of endorsing yourself. Secondary endorsement kind of turbocharges your emotional self-endorsement. And as you know, behavior that is rewarded is repeated. Now, the second part of the +2 is this notion of the reasonable best measure of self-worth. This is the means to establish and sustain your self-worth, even when the world doesn't cooperate. It is the powerful skill to sustain it, even when the world doesn't cooperate with you. Let's talk about the 7 in that formula. I've laid them out here for you, and I'm going to go through each one of them with you. These are the words that we want you to switch. So, for example, number 1, yes, I can. Replace yes, I think I can, for no, I can't. I give up. It's too hard. To heck with it. Fork it, right? This is the turn on energy word switch that converts your mental, spiritual energy into concrete, material, physical, and mental, physical reality. Love you to switch the word I allow for he, she, they, it, God makes me, right? This word switch is a declaration of personal responsibility, coming into adulthood, and the freedom to assert your own power to manage your destiny. I allow is the antidote for blaming others, shaming yourself, and complaining that leads to the harmful aggression and self-blame. Use I could instead of I should. Free your mind, if you will, or as we call it, your genie organ from your early masters. Use it to solve puzzles instead of giving control to the shoulds that are demanded by others. Replace both and instead of either or. I'd mentioned this a little bit earlier, but this is the critical word switch that empowers you to visualize our similarities in addition to focusing on the difference. Both and, though, replaces the animosity with reciprocity by minimizing polarity and awakening us to the multi-dimensional notions of time and space and wisdom. And this leads us to the magical sentence, we call it, word switch number 5. What works best for me and for you for now and in the future, instead of what works for me and my tribe here and now. Think about that one. This one magical sentence elevates our way of thinking from domination by this win-lose competition for limited resources to a win-win cooperation for mutual benefits. Notice that the sentence simply asks how each side can contribute their creative energy for the benefit of the whole. There is no longer right or wrong, win or lose, blaming, shaming, or complaining. Either us or them becomes us and them. It has the long-term benefits included with the short-term benefits. Animosity is converted to reciprocity. This fifth word changes provides the gas pedal to take us where we want to go. The accelerator, right, is what I'm talking about. Now, if you think about the next two, they're kind of the brakes. This is what we want you to stop. This is what we don't want. Replace energy for anger and fear and anxiety. These are our innate emotional responses or our fight and flight behavior. It then is transformed into an emotion that can be mentally redirected to this constructive, problem-solving action, emotion, energy for action is what we're talking about. And the last one, urgency. Replace urgency for emergency in this notion of ranking the high, medium, or low. Doing so allows you to convert this preferred idea into concrete action and bringing you back to, the notion of thinking about using your problem-solving genie organ, and you're applying mental deliberation with compromise and common sense. It's the notion of less road rage, less anger, and more peace. Last thing I want to talk about is our Genie Seminar. Now, what is the Genie Seminar? You've heard me mention it, okay? The Genie Seminar, we're going to practice a very small notion of the Genie Seminar in a little while. The Genie Seminar is a patented interactional method of education to teach and learn these mental, spiritual skills that I've laid out for you that we are required to survive and thrive. It's designed as an each one, teach one approach. It's where we come together, where we meet, we commune, we work on ourselves, we discuss applying the 7+2 formula, and we share our collective genius around today's and tomorrow's pathways to peace. I'll honestly tell you in these groups that we don't always agree, not by a long shot. However, we respect each other's opinions, and we call it a safe place for difficult conversation, right? Don would also talk about the importance of the Genie Seminar. He imagined a 1 million-member movement, something akin to Alcoholics Anonymous, where seminar attendees start their own Genie seminars. And through the process, we all co-create a lifetime of education in the qualities that make this a wonderful life and a wonderful planet for us to collaborate on. Now, how do we get to this world peace begins with your inner peace? The notion is that sometimes it may seem that there are violent thoughts all around you, violent thoughts and words. I've introduced you to this newer way to think about peace and happiness that's rooted in Einstein's method for world peace. In a nutshell, the path to world peace begins with you learning to love yourself with the abundance to love others. Now, I want to stop for a minute. I'm going to stop sharing my slides for a second. And I want to, let me go to one more. And I'm going to ask someone to please, keep this up if we can, and we can start sharing out. I want to show you this notion of what the Genie Seminar might feel like when you come and you join us at the Peace.Academy Genie Seminar. We talked about how we come together, how you would sign up for a Genie Seminar. You can do that through Peace.Academy. Sign up, log on, look at what we're all about. I want to open it up now, and I want to think about these questions with you. I want us to begin to share our own ideas. And I've went through what the 7+2 formula is. I'd love to hear, for the world to be peaceful, would you think that people need to change how they think? I'm going to put these into the chat. I'll ask someone to please cut and put these in the chat. But I want to stop sharing my screen and open it up to hear your voices. I'm going to call on someone. If I don't hear anyone's names, I'm going to call on people who are my friends. So what did you think about that? Do you think people really need to change the way they think for us to move forward with world peace? You're going to have to come off mute.
I do.
I
do. People need to change the way they think, and instead of looking and being fearful of people looking different or having different cultural ways, that to understand them better, and the 7+2 formula helps us understand ourselves better in order to be able to understand other people better, become more tolerant of difference. And if we can overcome that, I think we've come a long way to tolerance. and being tolerant of different cultures, different people, and not looking at them as adversaries, but more as advocates. I'll stop there for reaction.
Thank you. Can people raise their hands if they want to say something? I believe that then Carmela can open up your mic to talk about this notion of how can we change the notion of changing your thoughts. Does this lead us down the path to world peace? Thinking about how we can begin by loving ourselves before we can learn how to love others. Carmela, can they open it up to speak?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Go ahead.
If you could raise your hand, then I know who I'm spotlighting. Is that Abby?
Yes. Okay.
Okay, I'm going to add you to the spotlight so people can see who's speaking. There we go.
There's many, as we come, so I'm part of the regular group that meets in some of these genie groups, the prototype genie group. And it has a lot of different meanings to it. We kind of take away what we can, which I probably assign as something good. There's a lot of compromise that's involved. I'm sort of a big believer that for anything really to happen in terms of peace and a big thing, you need to be able to have conversations with each other. And having a forum to have conversations with each other, to me, is a huge, big start. So that's one of the things that I kind of come to this for. And I say, what's the pathway, or what's the way to get to a place where you want peace and some big ideas? Is probably the first step is, can you be in a room and have a conversation with other people, and both walk away thinking that something productive has happened, that you've shared your ideas. You don't necessarily have to have somebody believe your ideas, and you don't need to convince anybody, but I think it's a big first step, or it's a big step in the right direction. If you hear what other people are saying and hear where they're coming from.
Thank you, Audrey.
John,
John's
got his hand up. Do you want to respond first, or do you want to listen to John first?
No, go ahead, John. Then we'll respond. I'll respond to Audrey after.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys heard me before. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Okay. I don't know if you were able to hear me before, but so if you didn't, what I was trying to say, I didn't realize that you had everybody on mute. Was that we all do need to change and become more tolerant of others, and the way to do that is through better understanding of yourself and being able to. And I think that's where the 7+2 formula really comes in, is that it helps you understand yourself better and allows you to, to affect, or be a happier person, in which case overflows to others. And understanding that, you become more tolerant of difference. So I think a lot of controversy comes over, difference or not being able to understand different cultures, different people, different, ways, cultural ways, or the way you look, etc. So I think that is the insight that I would have to say, is that if we could change and be more accepting, and I think the 7+2 formula helps us do that. So I'll stop there.
Thank you, John. Kate has her hands up, plus 2 others. Can you see that?
Josephine, I would like to say thank you for that beautiful presentation. As you know, I've spent many hours with Josephine. I was a big fan of Don Pett. When I first wrote to Don Pett, it was like in 2018. I really liked what he was doing, the education. And I said, Don, I want to donate to your cause. And he says, I don't want your time or your money, I want your time. And that's when he told me about the Genie Seminar. And I know that it was a beautiful, helped me moderate a lot of the angers I had within me that brings this intolerance that John speaks about. And isn't that the beauty? Yeah, when we can be in a place where we know we don't totally agree, but we can have that conversation. It's so powerful. So I give a word of thanks and hope the Genie seminars are something that we, and when I met Don, I first, because, I'm a big fan of Phil Lane. I've known Phil Lane for a long time. And I said, Don, you and Phil say the same thing, only from different angles. Your Genie seminars are just like the talking circles that Don speaks of. And so I always wanted to get them to meet. I'm not sure how much time they got to spend together. But anyway, I think that the Jewish perspective and the indigenous perspective both bring us to that same place of realizing the only thing I can control is myself. And the more I can strengthen and deepen that awareness and being in balance. And those are my thoughts. Thank you, Josephine.
Thank you, Kate.
I see Destiny and Nashif's hands up, but Josephine, do you want to address these three speakers first, and then we'll go to Destiny and then Nashif?
Sure. I like to hear that, some of these are friendly faces and voices, and I love to hear them speaking and echoing the kinds of conversations that we have during Peace Academy Genie seminars. We don't, like I mentioned, we don't always, and we didn't start out as a group always agreeing. I think what we've learned is how to transcend the differences of opinion. We've learned in the Genie seminars and practicing the 7+2 formula. We've learned how to have the conversations where we're not wanting to walk away killing the person we're speaking to. And I use the killing metaphorically. And I think that's that's the biggest value that comes out of the Genie seminar. The world doesn't typically have places where we can come together to have those conversations, that we can resist and practice resisting our biological, urge to always attack, to always win, and to feel that we're walking away feeling better about ourselves because we've destroyed the person that we've been communicating with. Learning how to appreciate their comments, appreciate them as a person who has their own emotions and their own feelings that they're struggling with, and allowing them voice as well, and deferring to them and respecting their opinion, I think is what you hear Avi, John, and Kate talk about. And that's what we practice in Peace Academy. So guys, thank you for those comments. Okay, let's go. I think was Destiny up next? I'm not sure who was the next person that was up. Hello, Destiny.
Dr. Guevara, just wanted to echo Kate's comments. I thought that your content and delivery promoted my own personal piece today. So hearing this in this way, in the expert way that you delivered it, but also in the way that the information unfolded with this focus on self-love, I think is an immediate lesson that I can take to my day-to-day experiences, including today, which has been a stressful day. So it starts with self-love. I think the second piece, and that I've heard some of this, having had the benefit of joining as a friends and family, a Genie group, I had not heard the concept of the sort of, million person movement, right? In the context of what these groups could look like other successful groups that are disseminating information and that change and transformation really happens. So the comparison to Alcoholics Anonymous and some of the ways that people have convened around a central idea gives me hope that the Genie seminars, if they are expanded and replicated and scaled, that a movement for worldwide peace is possible. And I don't think I felt that way before. So this has moved some of my mental furniture, and I'm excited about what that scalability and sort of groups penetrating and permeating across the world might look like. So thank you for the gift.
Thank you for that lovely comment. If you know, full disclosure, Dr. Destiny Simone Ramjohn is my daughter. So thank you. The people who join regularly can also tell you that not part of what we do is not only talk about it and come together as a group, but speak with the people who are closest to us to bring them into the movement. And that this notion again of the each one teach one and spreading the message, hope they understand it, hope they find value in it, and that they're willing to tell other people about it as well. But they are also your toughest critics. Marilyn Pett is also one. I'd like to acknowledge Marilyn, who's Don's wife. I'm not sure if she would like to say anything, but I have to say, I think Don became who he is and who he was because of having people like his family and Marilyn around. So thank you, Marilyn, for that, and, putting those challenges out there to make this better.
Well, thank you. I think you really put things together beautifully. I know that we've all been thinking about how to get this idea across in an organized manner, and I think you really did a great job, Josephine.
Thank you.
And I think that some of the concepts I know I use, or I won't say I use on a daily basis, when a situation comes up, I sort of get reminded, that it isn't urgent, if I just sort of take it easy and let things fold out a little bit, I can handle it a lot better than getting upset. And knowing that there are two sides to every story and you can listen and don't have to feel a need to convince the other person, I think that saves a lot of conflict in getting together with people that I don't agree with. So I think it's been a good thing. And I think all of us in the family have helped sort of fertilize each other in living our lives and doing better than we did maybe a year ago or 5 years ago or whenever.
Yeah, thank you. I see Tex has his hand raised. I don't know if I'm and another person I can't see. Go ahead. Go ahead, Tex.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Mrs. Marilyn Pett, for having probably supported Don for many years and no doubt helped him become the better man he became. I know for myself that both my ex-wife and our 4 daughters have helped me gradually improve. And I hope maybe one day I will become a great man, someone a bit like Don, because there's all these women around me. Anyway, I thank Josephine for having accepted that the recommendation that Kate Roberts made, that she presents during this Peace Week, and made the link with me to try and facilitate that into happening. And we were honored to have Ben Bowler, the founder of Unity Earth, the organization behind this whole movement of World Unity Weeks, now in its 4th year. Last June was the 4th time we had World Unity Week, now Peace Week. So there's this movement, global movement that was started by Unity Earth, founded by Ben Bowler, who knew Don, who met Don several times, at least in meetings that I've attended myself online over the couple of years. And of course, we have the One World.Earth architect, founder, John Raymer, also to acknowledge for all this logistic behind what we're doing here in bringing the world together through the, this internet, and facilitating the manifestation of what Teilhard de Chardin would call the noosphere, which is a global mind. I think humankind is coming together and has the one mind that we need to have peace on earth. And there's a date that's been set, peace on earth by 2030. We would all probably like it to be now, but at least we'll try and work towards it to happen by 2030. Now, Destiny, Josephine's daughter, mentioned, I think it's very important, this groups coming together, small groups, to discuss, to commune, to share and exchange ideas, which is what Peace.Academy advocates through proven methods. And Destiny even mentioned AA. There are other organizations promoting these small groups coming together for peace, and definitely Peace.Academy has a very structured method, the Genius Seminar. So I think that humankind has a palette of opportunities. You know, if one is inclined to go more towards Peace.Academy, there's another initiative that started 12 Steps for Life, a bit on the 12-step method. And there's another organization having a peace game for peace by 2030. So the dynamism that Peace.Academy is showing, especially now with Josephine, who's taking the lead, supported by our dear Don family, the wife and the sons. I've seen the three of you at least in meetings. I think inspires much hope that we will get to a more peaceful world, if not global peace by 2030. Our survival depends on it. But if we want to have more than survival, we want to thrive and flourish as persons, I think we can definitely come together and exchange and try to come to common agreement on steps that we need to put into action. So thank you very much, Josephine, and everyone here today. Thank you.
Thank you. That was wonderful, Tex. Thank you. Awesome. Good. Do we have other questions? I wanted to get to the other questions, and I wanted to show the video too before, I get to winding down. I know I want to stick to the time that we're on, but part of what's very important in the Peace.Academy, in the way we run a Genie seminar, and I wanted to give you a flavor for it now, is the notion of not someone hopping on a soapbox. Even though Don spoke a lot, he never wanted to be the one who is, dragging people forward, but people participating and us building this together, right? The leader's voice, often when you lead the seminar, it's less than the people who are on the call. We want to hear what they're thinking, what they're saying. So I love hearing the voices. I felt I spoke even too much today. Typically, I try not to speak too much, but guide the conversation, take the notions, take the ideas, pull it together, and make those connections and partnerships to help spread the word about the 7+2 formula. So let me turn it over to Nashif. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you for inviting me here and for getting this opportunity to have such a beautiful discussion with a mindful people here, always as usual. If we say the word peace, everyone describe peace at his or her own pace or at his or her own side of living. When you say peace, that means peace can comprise with many things, where there is gratitude, where there is humanity, where there is love, where there is care, and even helping where it's necessary. The question is that how can we move, or how can we create peace, or a peaceful world where we live? One, we have to consider accepting what I could call as a feedback. In an environment where we live, we normally work parallel to the environment and to the people, the society where we are. But if we combine together and we say that now, if I do this and do this, meaning that the feedback or the response I will get from either the environment, either from the people around the community where I live, it's where we normally get directives on how we can at least replicate what we have to do. But sometimes people, we only think that we are the alpha and the omega. We are at the start point and at the end point. But yet, we normally create what we call a family. What it's called a family, it's not that the person, how they were born in the same biological mother, in the same biological father. As you can see the example now, currently, we are one family. However, we are online family. But time is going to come when we are physical families, where we have to meet when the Peace.Academy grows up and reach an extent whereby there will be a conference where people can meet rather than being here on virtual communication. So if we start accepting the feedback, if we start to relate what are our needs, but not our wants, because mostly people are focusing on what they want. They are not focusing on what they need, because there are two things. There's what they call a need and a want. Without your need, you don't have way to go. But without a want, you can live. Where you have options that I want this, but without it, you can live. But without your need, you don't have any option. There's no shortcut. There's no how you can hibernate or you get a loop for what you need. So me, what I would suggest that let's be as one. We shouldn't consider our own feelings or our own priority. We have to interact. When you reach an environment or in a community, you have to first leave your homely issue aside. You interact with the community where you are. You interact with the society and the environment. Then from there, you start receiving what I would call a feedback. When you get a feedback or a response, it gives you a clear way or a clear vision on how you can decide on what to go with and what to leave aside. So from there, we shall have started making some groups step by step. Because my friend, Text Healing, said that we should formulate some groups where we have to train them. To train a group which grew up with a trauma, because most of the people, they are not at a peace because they have traumas which they grew up with. As I can give you an example, I don't know how is it on your side, but on my side, you stay in a society where people get 1 meal a day, or sometimes they don't get. They eat 1 meal in 2 days. Then from there, you come and start explaining to them that, you know what, we need to do this and do this. Peace is needed. He or she will ask you, how will I be at a peace? But somebody who is leading us, for him, he's having more than 1 meal a day. But for us here, we are having 1 or 9. And how will that peace come? Then another question. We people, we are living just because of the past generation. They tried to create at least to the least what we can survive on. What have we created so far? What are we trying to leave as a legacy? The legacy is what you are doing. Like in previous videos, I normally make some videos when I'm training some of my communities on what to do and how to do it. And I normally welcome them at our garden where I normally do it. I try to show them what they are entitled to do and what are the benefits, because you cannot just train somebody peace when he or she doesn't understand what does it mean. Because people
I get it. I completely understand. You frozen
and interpret it in different ways. Because
I agree. This is not a complete disagreement. This is a complete 100% agreement. When we bring our message of peace, it's meeting people where they are. I don't think we have to keep that in consideration, take that into consideration. What's the legacy that we're leaving? Where are we meeting people, and how are they receiving our message? I think for some people who are receiving the message in the West, it's totally different than people who are in different circumstances. And what peace means to them and what the actions might mean to them, I completely agree. I think the work that you're doing in Uganda is amazing, and it's showing how to transform your community into a community of one that thrives. You know, sometimes it starts where we plant our seeds for peace. We plant them in different ways, and we all doing what we can to help move that message forward. I think for people who don't know what the work that Nashif is doing, and Kate is closest to it, he's doing some amazing work with building and bringing water and farming to his village in Africa. So when he joins our calls and we talk about it, and he has that passion, I love it, and we need to hear that. And because this is Peace Week, and we're trying to embrace the entire world, I think it was amazing that you joined today, Nashif, and so that we can hear your voice. You know, so thank you so much for sharing that out with us. Amazing. I always get chills when I hear you. So thank you. And I love your son in the background. He's adorable. So this is an example. You know, this is a little example of what you guys have. I did it for about 15 minutes. Typically, we go on for about an hour. Typically, we don't bring up such easy topics. We'll bring up topics about the war that's happening, you know, in whatever region the war is happening, because war is always happening. And we'll talk about how do we bring this message, you know, how do we have a conversation with people who might think, you know, differently politically. The toughest conversations are those that we have with people who sit in the US, who sit on opposite sides of the political spectrum. But what we're finding, even in our small microcosm of individuals with disparate ideas, bringing the 7+2 formula, having conversations with people, knowing that we're listening to them and that we respect their opinion, figuring out how we can connect rather than convince is what we do. What I'm putting into the chat too is an action that I would love for you guys to focus on. Today, if you just start with today, I want you to think about making a meaningful connection, and whatever that might mean to you. What it means to Nashif is not what it's going to mean to Katie, not what it's going to mean to Tex, or what it's going to mean to Destiny or Marilyn or Pearl or John or Abby or whoever else is on the call. It means something entirely different to everyone. That was true words that you said, Nashif, about how peace means something different to everyone. And it absolutely does. But whatever it is, I think we can say at the bottom line, having a peaceful notion and loving ourselves is where it can start. Thinking about how we make those connections is what we need to do. Safe places to talk with people who are different than us. It adds a different complexion and a plus to what we need to do to move peace forward in our time. If we can get to peace by 2030, wouldn't that be a beautiful thing? And what would that look like? Does it mean not killing? Does it mean happiness? Does it mean that my worries are gone? Does it mean that I have enough to eat and I have a place to sleep, right? What does it mean? Because we can only pray for peace, and that what peace means for you and what peace means for me may be entirely different. Okay. All right. Are there any other questions? If not, I want to show that video that I talked to you guys about. It's only a 5-minute video, and then I'll close. Okay, if that's okay, I will go ahead and start sharing. Is that okay, Camila?
Go ahead. All
right. Oh, it's asking me for a password, so I can't do that. Maybe I'll skip it. It's okay. I'll skip the video. It's asking me for a password. Let me cancel that. It's probably something going on with your room. It's okay. I will just share the last closing slides and end there. I don't think I'm going to have time to do the video, especially with the password, etc. Listen, I gave you guys a challenge, in the chat to go out and make a meaningful connection today. But I also would love for you guys to think about being like Einstein. I want to start with his quote here, which I found to be one of the most profound quotes that I read from him. I do not know with what weapons World War III will be fought, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones. Just think about that for a second. We must stop the war. After the bombs dropped in Japan, it's reported that Einstein said, the time has come now when man must give up war. It is no longer rational to solve international problems by resorting to war. I think we've always known this, but we've always been, as humans as we are, predisposed to war. Now, Einstein excelled by visualizing his ideas, and creating new explanations for stubborn scientific, mysteries. He recognized that, what was important and what he needed to do. He was not a fool in that, but he often went against popular opinion and academic tradition. He resisted in that way too. He thought differently and applied his imaginative analytical powers to many complex topics, including time travel, black holes, and atomic energy. He evolved. I'm asking you to evolve. This is one of my favorite quotes from Don. It's like, why do we fill our world with fear, hate, scarcity, and war when all we want and need is happiness, love, abundance, and peace? It seems so simple when you think about it. Why do we do that? Let me ask you, to take this call to action from me. The QR code is there, whether you're looking at it now in person or you're looking at it online later on. Scan it, go to our website, see what we're talking about. Take the 10-day challenge. Sign up with us on Facebook. Join us in Facebook. I put the other, our other ways to connect at the bottom here. These will be posted as well. And think about signing up for a Genie seminar. If you think this notion can help move the ball forward, or any of the other things that you might see during Peace Week might move the ball forward to our goal of peace in 2030, take up the mantle. Don't feel like you can't make a difference. You can make a difference. Go ahead and do it. Take that challenge. If you'd like to contact me, this is my contact information. You can find me on Facebook. You can send me an email, josephineg@peace.academy. It's very simple. I'm listening. We're at Peace Academy. We're all listening. We'd all love to share the information, have conversations with you. We'd love for you to join us during a Genie seminar. I want to say thank you. Thank you all. I want to share my last screen, which is the thank you screen. And I want to, it was funny. Tex called me out earlier today. He says, oh, yes, you have mahalo on there. Lovely, lovely. And that's just another way for us to say thank you. Let me turn it back over to Tex. I want to stop sharing. I want to turn it over to Tex. I think he has a video before we end. And as we bleed into the next conversation. I've got any questions, feel free to reach out. Joseph, I'll put it in the chat as well. Love to hear from you all. Thank you so much for your time today.
Okay, thank you, Josephine. We'll be stopping at for 3:45. I think it's been very powerful what we've been considering. I'd just like us to take a pause and listen to this little video.
Let's be quiet for a moment and drop out of our minds and into our hearts. Let's listen to the songs, the melodies, the tunes that our hearts play, winging their way from each one of us to each other of us. Connecting us. Bringing us together. Bringing us into harmony with each other. Bringing us into love.